January 11th, 2022. I found a video on my mom's phone of Nucci. Now, this would be when they used to babysit for the baby when I would go out to work. This was him in my house, but this is how well-versed Cat Scratch actually is. He's calling me on a pretend cell phone and telling me he's not doing this while he's at home with Linda Lou and potentially 1975. This is my little cosmic nursery in action. In his own voice, no less, and not coached. Because you can't teach kids like this. It's like improv.
Nicole, I'm not going to do this.
It's my father's voice. One, I don't know why he would, or how he even, I mean, he had to have learned my name from listening to the other people in the house or whatever. But I find it absolutely hilarious that he just gets up on the phone. I'm not in the room. It's my dad who's actually recording the video. And it's, or actually it might have been Anthony who recorded the video first, and my dad did a voiceover recording of the phone. Because there's been an evolution of this video. But the authority figure my son chooses to name out is me directly. That was when we lived in Maple. Before that transition to Roe. Same son now. And so he was very verbal since early on. He also had another video where it was buy high, sell low. No idea where he got those words from. It's one of those like cosmic like interconnections of something else is going on in esoteric spiritually. And so, I mean, I'm on a journey with 4 little people that I grew in my body cavity myself. So I take these things rather seriously. Well, I know they're funny in the moment. It does stick with you, and like what was going on in spiritual realm that made someone so young pick up a pretend phone and try to call out to his mother to tell his mother that he's not gonna do this. Yeah, if I could call God myself, kiddo, and say I'm really not going to do this, like not well anyway, because I don't see a way out, or a way through, it's pretty much like how I feel daily on this medical journal I was watching, another thing is I found a movie called The Patriot, with Mel Gibson. I don't know the year on the movie. Again, I know that some of the film studios have put these tremendous packages together, but I don't know what and whom are motivated by what in some universal ideology and way of explaining things. And I know some of the movies hold more weight than others. I just don't know how they're calibrated. So I've never seen the movie before, but it had different dynamic in it, and I sat from almost like if I had 4 chairs. So I would sit and watch the movie through a filter in one position. Then I would move my position, and then I move my position again, and then I try to understand it and interact with the scene in a fourth dimension or a fourth chair, to try to understand how it might be looked at or how it might be spoken of in that one theatrical memento that has been created by the humans. While I've just kind of been, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I got steamrolled on the outside. And it seems like there's been guys on a bus or guy on a bus moment where I didn't know who the guy was, but they seem to know who I am, as usual. And then, so for them, it's scripted. They know what they came to say, came to ask. They know my deal or my lack thereof, which is really scary. And I'm just going about, like, trying to figure out the world on a face forward and trying to get where I need to get, but I've got this piece of flesh that follows me around that I can't get rid of and won't leave me alone. And now it's created a story trying to quantumly entangle himself with myself because I have a better cosmic purpose. But I don't want him. Never did. But somehow, just like Frank and just like Warren and just like now Anthony, and just like Jason, it's like they're Klingons trying to like choke me out in their own quantum story and like time on set. I'm like, I didn't hire you. I didn't interview for you. I don't want you. Why is there so much of you in my life scene and set? And why can't I get this thing corrected? So anyway, so in The Patriot, things that I noticed but I can't explain to myself is there's some mention of the British. I don't know how the parallel or the paradigm works with amongst the real cast of humans or characters of humans, because I don't know how, like, I don't have a manuscript of universal truth to know how to set the pins or the stones of philosophy in Philosopher's Stone. But it was a little confusing for me in isolation or in my panic room where I am still, feeling like I'm inside a fluorescent tube. And so there was a red coat, but then there was a second red coat, and then there was a blue coat, and then there was just farmers, pretty much, we'll call them at the moment. But then the farmers, some of them joined together, but then there's still a section of what looks like farmers, women, and children, which gets confusing. So, I don't know, and then they call that something else, because there's the British, and then there's the Continental, and then it seems like they're against each other, but then on some level they're brethren, so that's confusing. And then there's conflict, but I don't know. It's, again, like if I try to put it into a modern city, it becomes such an even bigger disaster, because nobody really looks British like the movie. There's no Mel Gibson walking around that I can see. And so it gets, in New York, it gets really confusing because nothing looks British, either red coat, and nothing looks farmer Mel Gibson-ish. And I know I went to school at one point, when in the Reagan era, with farm children, or what, I mean, for us it looked like just regular clean-cut schoolhouse children with just a mild, I don't even know if you want to say non-secular, because I don't even know if that's appropriate in the big wide world of what things could turn into. But it was just a mild education of sorts. I mean, there was nothing really to grasp onto, and there's really no, like, at first there seemed to be a social aspect to it. It's like when Reagan was involved in the school, or whatever Reagan's administration was up to, there was effort made in, like, the first few years. But after 6th grade, it was like, I mean, it was a big start, then it started tapering off, and then after 6th grade, like, we had swim team 7th grade, and then it just became, again, really confusing, and lack of direction, or lack of even communication, or whatever. Kind of like when I had the squares on the wall. I was just one color square in a very, like, tapered whatever, and there's all other different color squares at different speeds and different levels of knowledge chugging along with different agendas and objectives. And it's just like, now, what did you, like, I mean, there's not even a, what did they do before we got here? So I know what the inherent problems may be in my life frame, so I can set some form of life plan for myself. I mean, there's none of that here. I mean, common decency, the humans don't even have, or didn't even afford us. Like, what problems were the past administrations of the government before we got here? We didn't get to teach, nobody taught us that. But yet, for some reason, in some naturalization process of things that don't belong here, and now are some business deal, it feels like, they seem to have a better education because they got to go through some process of learning. They get a better process of learning than the kids that were born here, struggling to just, I mean, the canceled cultures, I mean, really, we're just like the forgotten, it feels like, at the moment. Or I feel like, you know what, I can't speak for everybody. I speak for myself. I feel like the forgotten. The forgotten and the unspoken, because there's so many others that have these really loud voices about why they're so great. And I don't hear any of my tribe at any point doing the same. I think Trump tried to. I didn't hear it. I don't even know how to find his daily whatever. I don't even know how to tap into that. But apparently some areas of broadcast and journalists know how to get that kind of information. I don't know if you have to be, I don't even know. Again, these are the things, like, totally unprepared for being human. I mean, I really want 16th century. Like, where did that, I mean, I'm a reincarnate. I looked the same when I was at 18 as I did in 1600 something in a painting. I'm a painted Vermeer, girl with a pearl earring. It hangs in a very famous collection in a very famous area of the world, Europe. I don't understand why I have a reemergence and there's, like, galactic and spatial and whatnot importance going on, and yet there's no ability for some portion of patriot, if we just go on this one ideological movie, in order to get me, because obviously Reagan, a presidential administration, knew, to get me from safety position in second grade, like, why was Sean Harrington introduced as a possible square dance date for the evening? And then there's something about TJ Muro. I mean, real people, but yet I belong to Mark King. Does the king know that you locals are playing these games with his future wife? I'm just curious. If he's off at special cadet or citadel level doing his king thing, but his wife, his future wife, he has to entrust with the locals. Does King know that you're playing these psychological games with his woman? I'm just curious. Local, like, Lloyd Harbor Elementary, in the class that I graduated with in some year between 1980s and 1990s. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It is Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxies, Broken. And it is Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.